Welcome to Brighter Hope. I'm Halloran Hilton Hill. You know, all of us need brighter hope and a future living in this world. That's why we're so excited that you've tuned in. Our broadcast will bring to you real-life stories of hope and encouragement, and you'll receive practical tools for living from God's Word, the Bible. Stay tuned and you won't regret it. Let's join our host, Dr. Ivan Williams.
Welcome to Brighter Hope. Today I want to ask you a question. Have you ever been in a hospital? Have you ever had a loved one sick in a hospital? Today on Brighter Hope, we're going to deal with your hospital journey with a hospital chaplain whose name is Norris Burks. Norris, welcome to Brighter Hope today. I am just thrilled to have you today because we get to look through your eyes, the eyes of a chaplain, in a pediatric ward, as it were, of how you minister to family and especially families that have sick children. And what a blessing to have you today. I just am thrilled. Why don't you tell us, why did you become a chaplain? You know, there's a lot that goes on in a hospital. You're a better man than I am.
I get asked that a lot, Ivan. I go, how could you do what you do? Because we do see a lot of illnesses and
That's right.
a lot of pretty big tragedies that are most parents' nightmares, and we get that a lot. And how I became a chaplain, I was a pastor, much like yourself, a Baptist church in Stockton, in the late 80s, and long about that time. We had a schoolyard shooting, I think one of the biggest tragedies early on in the nation at Cleveland Elementary School, where I went down as a pastor to minister in that scene. Like you, I'm also an Air National Guard chaplain, and I went down there also representing some of my training as a Guard chaplain in critical incident. And so I went down there and ministered to the scene where 33 people had been shot. Wow. And 5 children died, and I was able to tell a few parents that they had lost their children. And just sort of out of that circumstance, I began to think about this kind of trauma ministry, this kind of calm in the presence of some pretty horrendous stuff seemed to be a gift I had, and I wanted to learn to do that. So I started some training to begin that.
You know, trauma is something that most human beings don't look forward to. Not only with it inflicted upon themselves, but dealing with it in other people's lives. Boy, I tell you, you must have to be cool. That's the best word I can use, it, under pressure, dealing with trauma. Tell the viewers about your training to be a chaplain.
Well, after, of course, the similar training you've had, seminary and graduate school, and then some years in the pastorate, there is a program called Clinical Pastoral Education taught right here in Sacramento at UC Davis and at Sutter Medical Center, which is where I work, at Sutter Medical Center. And so went to this training, and it's a 1-year training program where about half the time you're in the hospital rooms, kind of an intern, you're learning.
Yes.
But the other half, you're in groups of people reflecting. We have a group of students reflecting what you've done. We write what we call verbatims, saying this is word for word what I remember how the visit went, and I'll say, I told the patient that he just needed to trust in the Lord. And if you were another student, you'd say, you told him what? I mean, what kind of answer is that? I mean, so we sort of interact and through that training, and then of course we also have a lot of people coming in to explain things like just how to wear a TB mask, or how to talk to a patient who whose immunity has been compromised.
Now, you know, I've not only had to visit quite a few members in the hospital, but you know, I have had experiences where I've gone into the ER room. I remember a member calling me at 6 a.m. one Saturday morning, and I had to go in the hospital, and this member's grandson was drinking and was at a club, and he got in a car, had an accident. He was thrown out of the car, and another car came and hit him. And then I had to go and pray, and the family was pretty torn up. And then while there in the ER, the hospital chaplain said, "Hey, Pastor, I need you to come over here." A young man had been killed in a motorcycle accident. And boy, that was just almost traumatic for me, because the fiance of the man was there pulling her hair out, and the family was just really, they were losing it. And so all we could do was have a sense of presence, hold them, you know, give them space, be there, let them vent. And boy, you deal with that on a daily basis. Tell us a little bit about your day.
Well, I'm the chaplain for the Women and Children's there at Sutter, so it means that I don't spend as much time in the emergency room as I used to, but I do get called down there, particularly when our students are in class or something like that. But might get to some of those stories. But my typical day just consists of coming into a unit called the neonatal unit, or we call it the special care unit, where these babies are oftentimes 1 pound or 2 pounds, and these babies were born anywhere from say 10, 12 weeks early, and they are the tiniest creatures you'd ever see in the world that resemble some kind of human being. And so go in there and I approach parents who are oftentimes standing alongside an isolette in a space just as tight as we're in here. And I get very close, and you know, a little while ago we were doing a microphone check, and I said, well, my normal voice for the hospital is different than my voice for a stage.
Yes.
But I move in very gently and begin to introduce myself, and tell them that I'm a part of the care team at the hospital caring for your child.
Yes.
And my job at that point is to assess their spiritual resources. You may want to know, how a secular hospital would hire a chaplain, but we are directed to provide a spiritual care plan for each patient, because we recognize that's recognized as a help to patients. So.
Let me ask you a question. You just triggered something. Working as a chaplain who represents God and the holy, and in a quote-unquote secular facility or hospital, have you ever had people to say to you, "We don't want a chaplain, we don't need a chaplain," and how do you deal with that?
I do. There are two kinds. Some of the more dramatic stories surround just by what they're afraid of. As I walked in the emergency room one day and said, "Hi, I'm Chaplain Norris," and a big, probably he must have weighed 400 pounds, stood up and towered above me and said, "Get out of here, my mama's not going to die."
Wow.
And so he recognized me not as someone to help, but maybe sort of as the angel of death who had come. And so as I meandered down the hallway, his brother called me back apologetic and saying, "No, please come pray for our mama." And then so one son, I think, thought I was the bad luck charm, and the other one thought I was the good luck charm, but I'm really neither. So we get those kinds of reactions from people, but I think that my biggest part of what I do is I try to assess their spiritual gifts, or spiritual resources.
Okay.
So the man that said to me recently, I said, "Hi, I'm the chaplain," 81-year-old man, and said, "I don't believe in chaplains, get out of here." And I'm looking at I kind of cajoled him a bit. I said, "Well, here I am. I don't know how you don't believe in me." But I said, my job is to hook you up with what resources you have. And as I began to talk to him, he was a Jewish man, and so how could I connect him maybe to some of his community of faith is the biggest part of my job. And so as I'm talking to those parents who are crying over that baby, I say to them, I start to collect what spiritual resources they have. And you asked me about what do I do when they don't want me? Those are a couple of instances. But on the other hand, sometimes I also meet some people who are very hooked up to their